Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. So it seems that games that do their best to put forward the ideals of art and video gaming are becoming more and more prevalent in 2016. However, unfortunately, what we're usually left with is ultimately unsatisfying, either visually, through a lackluster storyline, or through poor gameplay mechanics. It's a formula that's so difficult to get right, and it's such a huge crapshoot in today's industry that even undertaking the daunting task of creating something seemingly unique, that most people just aren't up to the challenge. However, sometimes a game hits its stride and manages to maybe not necessarily get everything right, but get enough right to make it an enjoyable experience. So here we have Valley, a first-person action-adventure game with some light puzzle elements, a game that was released on August 24th, 2016 by Blue Isle Studios, the makers of Slender, The Arrival, and amazingly well-received survival horror game that was released in October of 2013. So with a very small yet distinguished pedigree, let's see what Blue Isle's cooked up with their latest game, Valley. And as always, we'll get this party kicked off with a quick look at the options menu. You know this is just never a good sign. I mean, come on guys, this is a $20 title. You'd think that that price tag would warrant a little more effort. I mean, honestly.
Who throws a shoe? Honestly.
Okay, well, let's at least see if there's an in-game options menu at least. I don't want to rely solely on first glance for something like this. Okay, it's a good thing I actually bothered to check the in-game options menu, because the stock Unity options menu that we saw in the beginning there, that's definitely not all there is to it. We have the gameplay options here with brightness, look sensitivity, look inversion, mouse smooth, sprint inversion, subtitles on or off, and character voice, whether you want male or female. Now your character doesn't really say anything, but they do kind of make weird grunts and stuff like that every once in a while. Now we have the audio settings. We have replay narrative elements off or on, master volume, music volume, and sound configuration. Quad stereo, bunch of different options there. There's a bit of a lag there when changing those. We have the controls. Right now I am, of course, playing with a controller, which is actually something to point out, and I don't think I had this scheduled to talk about through the rest of the review, was that please use a controller for this. This is an issue with the game. The mouse and keyboard sensitivity, even with being able to crank the look sensitivity and fiddle with that, the mouse and keyboard sensitivity are really weird, and the game will either just go off the wall crazy with the mouse, or it'll feel way too slow. It's not poorly optimized there, so if you have a controller, I do highly recommend you use it. You'll have a better experience with it. Hopefully they'll be able to patch the issue with the keyboard and mouse, if anyone's even brought it to their attention so far. And then we have graphics quality, high, medium, low, custom, VSync, 30 or 60 or off. Draw distance, texture resolution, terrain detail, shadow blur, motion blur, particle quality, anti-aliasing. Hello. Why is that off? And SSAO enabled or disabled. So a decent amount of functionality with the options menu here. There is no colorblind option, unfortunately, but for a game of this type and this quality, this is about the level of options menu I'm looking to see, and there's nothing really that stands out here aside from the colorblind options that are really missing. So Valley starts you off with an answering machine message of a friend of your character's talking to it as if you were actually standing there, about your apparent decision to seek out the mythical L.E.A.F seed, and talking about how you'll basically turn into the next Indiana Jones.
I still can't believe you're doing this. I mean, hunting down the, what was it? The L.E.A.F seed? You gotta admit, that sounds crazy. I mean, even if this mythological thing that can shatter worlds or whatever actually exists, what are the chances of you tracking down this ancient relic in the middle of the Rocky Mountains? Listen, I know you want to prove the thing exists. I get that. It's an adventure. Hell, it's your career, but can't you do something normal like the rest of us and just backpack Europe or something? Spend a month in Thailand? But hey, if by some miracle you find this thing and become the most famous archaeologist of all time, beers are on me. I'll even trade in your tinfoil hat for a whip and fedora.
And with that, your character sets out and is very quickly put into dire straits, having had a canoeing accident and washing ashore in an unknown area. Now, right off, you identify that you're entering into a different realm as you see tiny, cute little glowy animals moving around. Also, you're almost immediately introduced to the L.E.A.F suit after walking through a cave, which I can only guess leads to Never Never Land or Narnia or some such thing. Now, the L.E.A.F suit is a powered exoskeleton apparently created during World War II in a secret project that, as you find out later, took place at the same time as the Manhattan Project. And yes, the L.E.A.F acronym really is Leap Effortlessly Through Air Functionality.
Welcome to the Pathfinder program. As a Pathfinder, you will be tasked with operating and testing the newly developed L.E.A.F suit as our hard-working scientists at Pendulum develop new ways to empower our troops fighting the war in Europe.
Which, damn, that's just, no, dear God. Did you guys have writer's block on acronym day? Because holy ever-loving fuck, that is about as horrible and forced of an acronym as you can get. And if any of you doubt this, the acronym for the suit is L.E.A.F. It grants you the power of life and death. When you die, part of the forest dies to bring you back to life. And then there's literally an achievement titled Tree Hugger. Should I go on? No? Alright. Now, the game is obviously at least peripherally influenced by BioShock as you explore an abandoned military facility in the hunt for the life seed, which apparently was being used in some form of large-scale experiment as you move through a number of handcrafted levels that are a mixture of semi-on-rails discovery coupled with platforming and some light combat, all of which will need to be gone over as they actually do deserve a little bit of explanation. But first, let's talk about the L.E.A.F suit. First off, this thing is fucking awesome. It has super speed, super jumping, double jumping, grappling hook, magnetic feet, the ability to run across water for a time, plus you have the God Hand that you use for combat, resurrecting trees as your general role as a member of Greenpeace wearing power armor, along with the ability to take life as well. Also, they have the feature known as quantum immortality, where if you die in the game, part of the forest dies as well in order to push you to another quantum reality where your character is safe and sound. By this right, as long as the forest is healthy enough, you can't ever die in the truest sense of the word. And this actually leads me to some of the general game mechanics. Your suit uses a source of energy known as Amrita to power it. Amrita, as it turns out, is more powerful than any of the energy producers that mankind has found to date, and even nuclear energy, of course, because reasons. And it's this energy that allows your L.E.A.F suit to function. And the game introduces you to these abilities through the course of the entire game, all the way right up to the final levels. You're introduced to new abilities with the suit. And couple that with some fantastically done running sequences and some beautiful, beautiful music that really underscores the areas and the zones that you're in. They truly set a great tone for the game, and it actually makes you feel a little bit of the joy that can come from tearing recklessly through the woods. Those moments are beautifully done, and as simplistic in nature as they are, I really got kind of swept away in the moment of those sections. Now, through the course of the game, you do find items that open up otherwise sealed areas that grant you power-ups for your leaf suit in the form of golden acorns, artifacts, and power cells. These grant you access to additional power modules as well to increase your Amrita storage capacity, which, trust me, while it may stay plentiful through most of the game, there are moments when you do have to worry about your Amrita power levels as you reincarnate dead foliage and animals to keep the forest at peak levels, which is a must as it does become very important later in the game. Also, the game does have some light combat in the form of Amrita swarms, insect swarms that feed off Amrita energy, and you have to shoot them in order to appease them. In addition to that, you get introduced to new enemy types, and one of the major complaints I do have with the game, the Wendigos. Yes, Wendigos. Now, normally that wouldn't be such a big deal, but Wendigos seem to be popping up everywhere in gaming recently, and they're starting to feel like the flavor of the month bad guy. While normally I wouldn't mind the fact that Wendigos are around, but they've been just so overdone in 2016 that it honestly feels like a cheap cop-out for an enemy instead of using time and resources to come up with something original. Now, these eventually lead up to a boss battle with the Queen Wendigo, which actually also underscores another small issue that I have with the game. It's easy. No, I don't mean like normal easy. You have to remember one very, very important thing. Just because I love video games doesn't mean I'm very good at them. I'm bad. I'm not bad, but I'm not great either, I should say. I'm not bad, you know. And this game ultimately offers no real challenge whatsoever, and nothing underscored that than the fight with the boss Wendigo. Now, without going into too much of the story, I do have to say the voice acting is decently well done and conveys a, well, not necessarily original, at least very well delivered story arc. I actually did find myself feeling involved and connected with the story of Virginia King and invested in learning what became of her. Also, through the game, you're caught up in cleaning up the mistakes of the past and preventing the end of the world, and in doing so, you find out the source of the Amrita as the game finally reveals the last of its secrets that, while decently delivered, wasn't really much of a surprise. Also, I have to admit that I had thought that the game was glitchy with frame rate drops, but for some reason, that was actually a side effect of my recording software. Without recording, the game does maintain a stable 60 FPS, and I found no noticeable drops that went down past 58, so I'd consider the game very stable and well done. But the game is short. It took me less than 4 hours to complete, and that was with me getting sidetracked quite a bit. For the person of average ability, the game can probably be completed in 3 hours or less, and the replayability factor is only really there for completionists who want to discover all the hidden power-ups. However, the game does seem to be built with speedruns in mind somehow, and I think this game would serve very well for that purpose. Now, in the end, I give the game a solid 7 out of 10. It's a good game, and for what it does well. It's a beautiful, well-designed game that was a blast to play. I would have rated it higher, but the Wendigos and the overall play length drug it down slightly for me, not to mention the shallow combat. And yes, I know that the combat's not really the main focus of the game, but I'd prefer that if you do decide to put a feature in a game, that you don't half-ass it. Even taking everything, all that into consideration, the developers earned my $20, and yes, I will be playing the game again, because on my first playthrough, I didn't get inside the ancient temple, and I feel like there's definitely a piece of the backstory unfinished there, and also I wanted to take another stab at those running sections, because those were so beautifully done, and were, while simple, very effective, and man, they were just a blast to go through. I enjoyed the hell out of them. So once again, this has been Valley by Blue Isle Games. It is available on Steam right now for $20 or your regional equivalent. I believe this is also out on PS4 and Xbox. It is. PS4 and Xbox as well. And yeah, a good, albeit short experience that I had a ton of fun with. And if you are interested in a game of this style, it's definitely not one that will disappoint. So thanks again for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time. Hi there, boys and girls. Thanks for checking my video out. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit that like button and maybe even that subscribe button. Trust me, it works really good. Don't forget to share with your friends, and if you're interested in following me on Twitter and Facebook, the links for that are in the description down below. I also have a Patreon if you're interested in helping to support the growth of my channel, and the link for that is down below as well. And once again, thanks for watching and supporting my channel, guys. I really appreciate it.